Welcome to this video game 10 coverage of the World Championship match between Anand and Magnus Carlsen. Yeah, you all know that Carlsen has won game 9 and therefore took a very convincing lead of 6 points to 3 points, and you need 6.5 points to win the match. So this means out of the remaining 3 games, Anand would need 3 consecutive wins to draw the match and make it a 6-6 to the tie breaks. So it's basically a lost cause, but the games, or at least this game, needs to be played, and Carlsen needs this one draw to get the title. So let's see what happened. Yeah, 1e4. This was to be expected. If you want to play it safe on that level, e4 is usually the a good choice. And Vichy is going for the Sicilian, probably aiming for knight off. And Carlsen is not going into that.
Check.
He's playing bishop b5 check, the so-called Moscow variation. Yeah, and here Vichy has played both bishop d7 and knight d7. In this game he played knight d7, and in fact this he had played only recently this year in this Norwegian super tournament. I'm not quite sure, Norway Masters, not quite sure about the exact name, but this tournament that was played in various cities in Norway. They played this, Carlsen against Anand, and Carlsen had a very nice position. We will see what happened in this game briefly. Played now d4. This is the most ambitious way to play against knight d7. You get your queen out early, and this is an idea here because, okay, the natural move knight c6 is obviously not possible anymore, so the queen is nicely placed in the middle of the board. Yeah, Anand now a6 and the capture.
Check.
This is one benefit of knight d7. You very often get the bishop pair, as white does not really want to retreat the bishop from b5, but exchanges on d7, so that black has got those 2 bishops, which is nice. On the other hand, white has a very good lead in development, and with c4 he also sets up the well-known Maroczy bind, where this pawns on c4 and e4 establish very nice central control. Anand now played knight f6, and this is new for his or in a practical game that he's playing. In this mentioned tournament in Norway, he had played e5 against Carlsen and really got into some trouble. I mean, it's continued queen d3 and b5, knight c3, takes, and at the end Carlsen, this is probably okay for black, but at the end Carlsen managed to get something. This 2 against 1, this potential pass pawn, and he also made good use of the weakened queen side. So Anand didn't want to repeat this type of position and played knight f6. Yeah, here the main move is actually knight c3, but Carlsen played bishop g5, which certainly makes sense. White prevents any ideas that black might have to play g6, because, okay, this is a disaster. The pawn structure is completely wrecked. So black is basically forced to play e6, and now all this is very logical indeed. Instead of castling, in fact, there has been played rook d1 before, and I only quote this because this is a very recent game played in September, only 2 months ago, in an event in Paris. And the white player is Laurent Fressinet, one of the top French players. And this is interesting because Fressinet is believed to be in Magnus's team. So he's worked with him before, but I'm not sure if he's in this exact team now for the World Championship match. So there might be some connection there, and therefore Anand maybe could have expected this type of opening. He could have expected bishop b5 and so on anyway, because Magnus has played this numerous times before. So castles, bishop to c6. Yeah, makes sense. Get some pressure against e4. And now queen d3. This is an important move, queen d3. It fulfills a double function. It removes the queen from possible attacks on d4. And it also allows white to play knight d4 and maybe just get rid of this bishop to make sure that black does not keep the bishop pair for a long time. After castles, knight d4, exactly that happened. b3 first played, and now white get rid of this knight on this bishop on c6 to make sure that the bishop pair is gone. Yeah, how to assess this position? This is a fairly typical structure. The Maroczy bind pawns against the small center. This is similar to the hedgehog structure, which includes b6. b6 is not played here, which is a slight difference, but not a decisive one. One important point here is that white does not have a light squared bishop anymore, which very often is positioned on e2 or g2 if a fianchetto has been played. And this bishop sometimes turns out to be not to be such a great piece because those pawns are all on light squares. But okay, this is not a major issue. In general, black only has got two active plans available. He's got b5 and he's got d5. Those two pawn breaks. And white's play is basically centered around preventing those two breaks. If black is not allowed to play any of those pawn breaks, and white in the meantime does increase his control over the position, then white retains some edge. And we see in the game that exactly this is happening. It's not like black is in big trouble, but it's like it's a very comfortable position, I think, for white. You can play without any risk. All this seems very normal. Little strengthening moves. Now Anand intended to activate the queen. It's not doing much on c6 anyway. This is basically the type of position that pretty much sums up this entire match. Carlsen is looking for positions where there is not particularly much going on, but also for positions that he has absolutely zero risk in, and where he can try around a bit and do this little tricks here and there and sort of build up pressure like deceptively. You don't really see where it is coming, and at one point he really has something, and this is also an example of this. If we look at this, all very normal looking moves. Queen d2, for example, is a little move that has some idea. Whenever you have this kind of situation, those two queens are looking at each other and there's a knight on c3, there's always this knight d5 idea that black needs to be aware of. Let's say, for example, black plays a nothing move here. Let's say rook b8. It doesn't make much sense, I know, but I want to demonstrate the idea that knight d5 is the big idea. Then the queen is hanging and the bishop is hanging. And after queen d2, note that this is not a check. This is important. If the king is on e1, that's a different story. But now white can take on e7 with a check. This is important. This is uncovered, this bishop, unprotected. And in this case, white wins this important pawn on g7 and basically wins the game. Knight d5 is a motif that you always need to have in mind. So queen d2 is sort of threatening knight d5, and Anand reacted with king f8. Yeah, just making sure that on e7 there is no check. So after knight d5 now, queen d2, you cannot take on e7 with the check. So this move has some sense. It's not just a waiting move. Okay, king f8, king b2, queen b2, sorry. Sort of building up on g7, and yeah, it's not maybe a real threat here. but Anand just went back. Why not? And in this position, actually, Carlsen could have played Queen D2 to ask Anand, okay, what are you doing now? Do you play King F8 again to make a draw, or are you trying to really win 3 games in a row? But he didn't do that. He just played A4, and therefore also signaling, okay, I'm not going for a draw anyway, so let's just play. And A4 is a good move to control B5. Note that black is ages away from playing D5 or B5 here. He just is in a sit and wait situation. And somewhere around here we have some more piece trades. And Queen E5, Queen D2, and now Knight F6. Somewhere around here I think Anand is drifting into slight difficulties, but I'm not 100% sure where to pinpoint the exact situation where he should improve. Of course, D6 is a slight issue in this position, but it doesn't seem like the end of the world. Maybe he could have played better before. At least after Knight F6 it gets somewhat tricky. The computer wants to play Knight C5 and claims that after Rook E3, Queen F6 to E7, the position is around equal. I don't really buy that. I think white is still somewhat more comfortable, but this is better than the game, because there are some ideas here that are quite cute. Let's say A5, Queen E7, quite normal. And if now white tries to play a direct approach with B4, black has got this interesting move E5, Rook D5 and Knight E6. This is very interesting, that the knight on C5 might actually drop back to E6. So, and quite interesting concept. Still, white, if he is patient, and Carlsen is basically the most patient player around, white still keeps something. I'm also a little bit biased, to be honest. I always enjoyed the Maroczy bind positions with E4, C4, and especially here with some pieces traded, there is very little counterplay, and white just seems slightly better. But I think somewhere around this stage, certainly Anand could have improved somewhere. I'm not 100% sold on which position exactly. What's clear is that he played Knight F6, Rook E3, and in this particular position, after Rook D7 and A5, we see that there are some ideas for white. Mostly B4, and then Knight C3 to A4 to B6. This would be excellent if white accomplishes that. The knight on E2 is not doing much, and it would be excellent on B6, attacking and controlling important squares, and then you can even build up more pressure against the D6 pawn. What's clear is in this position Anand played the move Queen G5 after quite some minutes of thought, and you could instantly see that Carlsen was aware that okay, something's off here. Queen G5 is a strange move or a surprising move, and he played E5 relatively quickly, and it becomes apparent that black is in instant trouble here. He cannot take, of course, as D7 is just staying. This is winning a piece for nothing. And if you cannot take, your knight is attacked. Where are you going? Black only has Knight E8, and this immediately looks very much wrong. So he just blundered into that. And yeah, now Knight E8 was played. And here we come to a unique, almost unique situation for the whole match. And this is because in this position Magnus Carlsen is committing the only real mistake he made in the whole match, to be honest. I think he drifted in some trouble in game 3 with some inaccurate moves, and yesterday, okay, Anand had an attack, but nothing totally clear. and you also couldn't say he made any big mistakes, but now he's really making a mistake. Anand blundered with queen g5, and now with the right move, Carlsen could basically win the game. And there's more than one actually, but somehow he overlooked, I guess, something after the capture. He took on d6 to tell that, and relatively quickly. But after a move like knight c3, where you just keep the tension for a moment, black is completely out of moves. He can never take on e5, and white just improves the position further. This is completely lost. I mean, really, rook c6, and then let's say b4. What is black going to do? He can never take. He cannot play d5. He cannot move the knight. It's basically yeah, you have no move. You also must reckon with knight e4 here. Let's say something like that. Yeah. What about that? Yeah, white is simply winning. And knight c3 is not difficult to spot. For example, the two commentating players at this moment, international master Trent and Indian Tanya Zachev, they both instantly say, oh, a knight c3, isn't this winning? And in fact, knight g3 is the same thing, but knight c3 I even like more. So this would have won the game simply, but Carlsen took on d6, and after rook c6, maybe he miscalculated something. It's not clear. But now the thing is, okay, you've won the d6 pawn, but how are you going to keep it? And in fact, there is no way to keep it. Black will get the pawn back, and after the further moves, queen d8, and all this, black established material equality again, and they traded all this down to this knight endgame. And okay, of course, they are over move 30, so they could just make a draw here. I mean, Anand, I don't think would have declined if Carlsen offered a draw, because, well, the practical winning chances for black are like 0. But okay, this is not Carlsen's style. He continues, and it went on for a couple of moves. White first centralized the king, and black also needs the king to defend the queen side. So how to assess this position? Yeah, it's somewhere between equal and a very slight edge for white, because white simply has more space. d4 against d7, the king is more active, and also potentially your 3 pawns against 2 pawns might be good for a pass pawn in the near future, but it's not enough to really win the game. And we see that after the following moves. Yeah, this is all very logical, black activating the knight. That after those moves, white is intending, after g3 this was hanging, intending to enter with the knight on d6 and possibly attack f7 or win the g7 pawn. So the question is, what should black do? And Anand played precisely here, really precisely. He played f5, the only move to continue here as black. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. For example, if you go here to attack g3, white just returns, and look at this knight, it is trapped. Right, white will just approach this knight and ask it, where are you going? So not a good idea. Or after that, there's knight d6, and as mentioned, this is the big problem here. Also take into account that this
check
allows this king to enter. The check is not only winning the pawn, but also driving the king away from the defense of the b7 pawn. So only one move, f5, and correctly played, knight d6. And now, okay, this is a threat, and Anand plays most actively g5. And in fact, I think the endgame here was played perfectly by both players. g5,
check.
and now Carlsen activated the knight, trying to get to the kingside pawns, and all this was very nicely played. And now he played
check.
knight to g8. Knight h5 is an alternative and the computer suggestion, and it's typically weird. Why put the knight on h5? What is it doing there? But okay, there is a point, of course. White threatens king b6 and to take the pawn, and if black cannot really go back. I mean, black needs to attack the knight, trying to win it, and this is a very deep variation, but it's almost forced. So we can look at that. And now the c pawn is running, but black of course has counterplay. We can continue with taking, and now after the capture, black needs to immediately get the f-pawn going. So this is the only way to go. Takes. And yeah, black is queen down at the moment, and white can check. But there's no way that white is going to prevent this this queening. And in fact, this is a draw. There is not much going on. Queen e8 check, for example, is one way to draw this at the end.
Check.
And this will end in a perpetual check. So a very long variation. Knight h5 was an alternative, but he played differently.
Check.
Played knight g8, and I think at this moment he already had calculated what was happening till the end of the game. Black attacked the knight, took on h6. And after this, you see that, of course, the knight is trapped. This is what Magnus had calculated, and took on f5. This is the important point, as now white gets the queenside pawns. If black takes with the knight, however, after king b6, he is even losing. Note that the problem is that you don't have any counterplay with the f-pawn. The pawn is just here instead of f5, and after this, black immediately went for the f-pawn to have this counterplay, and all this is very logical and forced almost. So we had both sides queening, and white has got 3 pawns for the knight, but no chances whatsoever for both sides. I mean, the position is even drawn without the white pawns, and white cannot really do much with his pawns. So it's very drawish, or it's just a draw. Drawish is a wrong word. We had a couple of more moves.
Check. Check.
Yeah. And here,
check.
After queen c7, king h6,
check.
White played queen b6, and at this moment,
check.
It was clear that this game was ending in a draw, and they put out a couple of more moves. And knight takes c5, and that's it. The game was drawn here, of course, as both sides don't have any material left. And yeah, Anand congratulated Carlsen for his match victory. He won this World Championship match with a +3 score without losing any game, 6.5 against 3.5. And yeah, with this game, Magnus Carlsen becomes the 16th undisputed chess world champion, going back the whole line, this big heritage of chess from Steinitz in the 19th century up to now Magnus Carlsen becoming the champion at 22 years of age. I think he's the second youngest. Kasparov was a couple of months younger even. And yeah, it also is the logical sort of end of this road where Carlsen has been the best player for already a couple of years, which seems really strange given his young age, but already since about 2009 he has been on top of the rating list, and he also entered this match being the relatively clear favorite. And in fact, I had predicted before the match that Carlsen would win with a +2 score. It is a +3 score at the end. And yeah, we could witness that Carlsen, with this almost mistake-free play, is a super tough opponent to play in match play. It looks like how he's ever going to lose a game. It's very difficult to imagine at the moment. And it also made clear that Anand, while still being an excellent player, was not able to really set him the type of problems that I guess he needs to be presented with to get in trouble. But to be honest, at the moment there isn't a player who can do that. I think only like players like Kramnik and Aronian, if they're in absolutely top-notch shape, they can endanger Carlsen. But let's see. We will have the next World Championship match, then with Carlsen being the defending champion. I think even next year, so it's not like 2 years or more. And we have the candidates tournament in March, I think March or April 2014, and then we'll see who will challenge Carlsen. My clear favorite for this tournament is Kramnik, and I'd really like to see Kramnik playing a World Championship match against Carlsen. I've been a long time fan of Kramnik, and I think the current way that he's playing, he really sharpened up his game, would make an excellent match. But even this match, to be a competitive match, Kramnik needs to be in outstanding fashion, in outstanding shape to compete with Carlsen. Yeah, to sum up the match, I don't think it has been a very memorable match. We didn't have any really great games. You need to be honest with that. Carlsen played on excellently high level. This is not what I'm saying, but we didn't really have those kind of classic games that you expect to be analyzed for a very long time. But this in fact also applies for many other World Championship matches and games where the emphasis is clearly on the aspect of chess as a competitive sport, where the win is really the thing that counts most. If you look back at for example, some of those Kasparov-Karpov games, a lot of these, especially if you look at the first match, they were really complete snoozes. So it's not like everything was better in former times. So alright, so let's wrap up this match coverage. I hope you enjoyed the videos I produced for all 10 games, and I'll hope to be back soon. I'll do of course the daily Blitz videos. This will be a constant feature of this channel. Also look forward to more content coming in 2014. I'll be able to devote much more time to the channel in the next year, and this also means that there will be probably more content on a daily basis. So if you want, you will have much more chess from my channel every day. Alright, look forward to that, and I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.